Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PR Connections radio show at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am here with Rebecca Hall. She is an author and a children's advocate through educational programs and also an energetic healer. And she's going to be talking about some interesting topics that will help your child to release their inner genius today. Well, welcome to the PR Connections radio show, Rebecca.
Well, thank you, Guy. I'm looking forward to it.
Tell us some things about yourself.
Well, I entered into developing these materials because I found a lack in my students, especially at school. I thought, okay, there's some holes there. And where can I provide content for them to fill in those educational gaps? But what also helped me to backtrack was my own children. There were some struggles they were having. For example, one child, I was told by the teacher, would never be able to do anything with his life except for work at the 7-Eleven in one of the little gas station, little mini marts. And you want to talk about devastating. You really realize what people say, that sometimes that they don't realize the impact. But as a teacher and trained in what's called early intervention, I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out what's happening here and see if I can remediate it. And then years later, another child ended up with Tourette's. And that usually happens around second grade. And it just suddenly shows up. And then you're in awe. Oh my gosh, what's happened here? And even with her, I started finding problems where teachers didn't understand the Tourette's and started punishing her. And you can see I started going into outside sources and gathering information and started using my skills as a teacher and working with second language students in order to work on remediating this. And I was able to do it. And both of my kids are now, they graduated with master's degree from the universities. Both have great jobs, bought a home last year. They're both self-sufficient. And what do we want as parents? We want our kids to be successful. And that was my goal. And that's how I've ended up in this journey.
Why are these teachings important for children? I know you just shared about your experience with your own children, and why do you think it's important that people learn these teachings?
Well, it isn't just my own children. I found that working with other people's kids, that there were blocks, there were gaps. And if I was able to fill those gaps, they excelled. I even had a classroom of kids, second language kids, who, after 3 months of using these strategies, all of them jumped a year of school plus. And it all came down to filling those gaps. And that's what this is about. And learning how they're different. And all kids learn differently. All of them do. All of them have gifts. And if you find those gifts, you can find those gaps, and you are able to remediate anything and create magical changes, shifts. It's amazing.
Well, you being someone who's an expert in your field, what are a few topics that cause challenges amongst people in relationships with parents and children?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a challenge, especially in their relationship. Parents, it's very difficult, especially in today's age where you're expected to maintain a job and take care of all of the business of the household, and then to turn around and have to teach your child, that's a lot to expect. But I had to do that. That was what I had to do in order to help my two children. And the goal was for them to be successful in their life. So I think today we need to really make a decision. What do we want? Do we want our kids to excel? Or do we want them to just go by, have life kind of go by and they're not achieving their potential? I think that's what it really amounts to.
And as you mentioned, under normal circumstances, there are unique challenges and situations that parents and children deal with. Now we're in a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, where you are, as you had mentioned a second ago, you're literally forced to educate your children in most instances. And so I would think that these principles that you're teaching are even more applicable now because of just the natural state of how things are. And I know over here in America, I'm hearing a lot of things about a lot of children are suffering dramatically educationally just because their parents may not understand the dynamics of how to teach their own children. How will your program benefit those who just feel that I just can't do this? I don't know how to teach my child. How could you help them with this program?
That's correct. Parents don't know how. And that's what we need to open that door to help them out. Okay, this is learning something brand new. And anything new is what I call like a fire hydrant stuffed in the mouth and pouring into your mouth. Guess what? You end up on overload. I know I have many times. I mean, and that's what parents today are looking at. And they really, it's difficult. I'm not sure where to turn, but there are consultants out there that are trying to help out. Well, that's what I've done with this program. Some of the materials are things I have been developing for over 30 years. And the goal is to get kids engaged, to get kids so that they're interested. And when they're interested, they want to learn. They are also engaging emotions. Emotions help information to go into long-term memory, and thus they're learning. So that's what we want to do. And the whole program is about that. It's about engaging those different levels so we can get that. And we also want to help parents learn how to teach vocabulary. Now, that's the biggest success factor in everything, is parents learning how to teach vocabulary to their own kids. Because vocabulary is an indicator of success. And the better their child can communicate also leads to success. Yet, if a child doesn't have the vocabulary and communication skills, that's also an indicator of not being successful. And guess who has the least amount of vocabulary? The prisons. Sad to say. Less vocabulary, less, the ability to really achieve in life. And that is something a parent can do. And there are strategies and techniques that you can do in day-to-day life in order to build that vocabulary. Cooking a meal, you can do it. Going out for a walk, going to the grocery store. Amazing opportunities to teach vocabulary that I will be working with parents in this program called Release Your Inner Genius Club. So I'll hold a weekly meeting where I'm going to teach techniques and strategies to parents so that they can do this. And it's not going to be as hard for them as it was for me. I'll teach them how to go to the grocery store and work on math and vocabulary and even some reading. As simple as ordering a pizza. Amazing what you can do. Guy, and you're also touching those learning differences, which is what you need. Now, you need to introduce a skill 7 times before it goes into long-term memory, so they remember it. But guess what? 7 times on a workbook isn't going to do it. It needs to be introduced in different ways. And that's what a lot of parents don't realize. And so they're losing it. They can't figure out, why can't my kids get this? Well, they can't get it because they don't realize that the kids need that variety, as us adults need it also. Actually, to learn something, we also need to have the 7 times also. But yeah, they're just simple tips that can help them guide their children through this pandemic. That's what's important. And that's what we're providing in the club.
What are some of the unique aspects of your program, Releasing Your Inner Genie? What do you offer that may be different than other programs out there that are designed to bring out the best in kids?
Well, we're offering a variety. Not to mention, it's very interactive. So, for example, I have a whole unit on teaching lessons with Play-Doh. I know that sounds ridiculous, but for the child that moves, for the child that learns kinesthetically, and there are a lot of kids that learn kinesthetically, they need that. They need to move, they need to touch, they need to feel. That brings out emotions. And those emotions move information into that long-term memory, and thus they're learning it. And that's the key. A lot of people don't realize that. So we also have Arlene Wow, and she's coming in to teach guitar lessons. She also has songs that she's developed just for us, just for your kids. And she's also going to do guitar. Then we've got learning a second language. We're very lucky that Caroline has come in and she's going to help us learn French, which will be fun, a fun project. I have English because I have been teaching English as a second language for many years. And Arlene's going to teach Spanish, and we may even have someone to teach German. But we're offering a variety. We also want to learn math through my favorite method is to open up maybe a pizza shop or a hamburger shop in your home or a grocery store. And guess what? Amazing amount of math skills. And they're not just learning it on paper, they are applying it. And when they're applying it, it's going to transfer to that paper and pencil in an incredible way. So what I'm doing is I'm laying out that framework. I also have a reading program with all of the components to come with it that is going to also be on the platform for your kids to work with independently at home or with you. But what we've done is we put everything in one platform. So you're not having to go out to pay a piano teacher or to learn French. You're not having to pay another teacher. Yeah.
I can really resonate with the practical application aspect of what you're describing, of the way that you work with children, rather than sometimes in traditional education, everything is so geared towards theory and learning, read. I mean, and I understand that that is a part of the educational process. But what you're
Yeah.
describing here, the practical application, and that really is a unique component in helping people to learn things, them actually putting their hands on things, because there are people uh, who I've met throughout my life who just don't learn very well by reading. But practical application, actually doing it, or kinesthetic learning for some people makes all the difference in the world. They're superstars in their method of learning. And so I can really relate to what you're saying, in that you're creating a different learning environment for
Yeah.
children that could really bring out the best in them, because it taps into different aspects of learning and not just a cookie cutter approach that we often
Right.
see in the traditional educational experience.
That is very true. I noticed that with my daughter, but with my own kids, because I used to do this with them at home, in addition to doing it in school with my students. And I would have teachers run up to me when I kind of got tired. I thought, okay, I'm going to take a break. And they would run up to me, my kids' teachers, and say, "You got to start again." And I thought, how did they know I was doing it in the first place? Because I never talked about it. And they didn't. The thing is that they were using the cookie cutter approach. I came in as, okay, we're going to apply this information and we're going to have fun doing it, because I know that connecting fun feelings to education and learning helps to put that into long-term memory, and they're going to remember it and be able to apply it back to your paper and pencil. So that's the whole thing that people don't realize. That 7 times is important, and doing it in a variety of ways, so it's able to touch those different areas of the brain, and that they're processing it in different ways, and so they can actually retain the information and apply it. But that's a hard one to learn if you're walking into it without having any of that knowledge. Actually, a lot of this knowledge, mainstream teachers don't have either. I was lucky enough to have learned it by teaching second language students.
Who is this program designed for, Rebecca? Who would benefit the most from the teachings that you share?
Well, it's primarily geared to 4 to 9-year-olds right now. We can expand it in the future, but right now it's the younger kids, and so we want them to we want them to get that strong foundation. As a person trained in early intervention, working with the young children, if they are successful in the younger years, it actually spreads out through the older years and into adulthood. Now, if they don't have that rich foundation when they're younger, that actually transfers over also into adulthood. So I'm a firm believer in getting and providing those rich foundations with a lot of experiences, exposure to many different activities as possible. And then you can also find out which ones of those activities tend to lean towards, or they tend to naturally go towards, and that's how you can identify where their gifts might be lie. And that's what's important, is to find out where their gifts are, and then eventually you can start adding more and more of those gifts in, or those areas where they learn differently. But if you don't observe them in many different learning situations, you wouldn't necessarily know that. I found myself having to go to the school often and talking to them about different learning strategies for my own kids. And surprisingly enough, they came back and said, I had no idea. They didn't realize that kids do learn differently. And as a parent, I can give you some of those different strategies so you can try them out with the kids. And they are simple and easy. But if you aren't taught them or shown them, there's no way you would know. So what I've seen is most homeschool parents or even parents at home are trying to support the education from the school systems. They hand them a workbook and they think they're teaching them. And that's farther from the truth. They really don't. It's not really hitting that child because for one, most kids aren't strictly visual learners. Or in the school, if you got them listening to someone lecturing, they're not strictly auditory learners. They usually need to have all of the different modalities. So you've got your visual learner, your auditory learner, your kinesthetic learner, and I'm going to say emotional learner because some kids do learn emotionally, through their feelings. But most programs don't include all of those modalities. And so you're losing kids. And so this is a platform to show you how you can engage all of those different learning modalities, enrich your child and find those gaps to be able to fill those in. That's what's important.
It sounds like engaging in this program requires a pretty high level of commitment from parents, Rebecca. The things that you're describing, that they have to pay attention to their children in this educational environment to start to understand the ways that they learn, that they have to be very observant of their children in order to make all of this work, to truly release their inner genius. Would you speak to that, the commitment that parents have to have in order to make this work?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not so much a commitment as to being on the program. Once you've learned what to watch for, you can easily do it in day-to-day life. You're going to a grocery store, or you happen to see someone on the street playing an instrument. What does your child do? Do they want to stop and watch? Or do they want to talk to the person? That's a sign. Or what if you see someone singing? What does your child want to do? Or what does your child do throughout the day? Do they sing? Or do they dance? Or do they want to cook all the time? All of these are things just to watch for. It's really actually very simple once you've learned what it is to watch. But other than that, just those are all things that you can do, have an internal click that's saying, okay, this is something I want to watch for. And they can outgrow it or they may not. It may become a love of theirs that you might want to move more towards in the future.
I agree with you, Rebecca, that children will definitely show you that what their affinity is. And it's really about you being aware of that and paying attention to what they can't help but showing you because they're living, and as they're living, they're definitely showing you exactly what they're wired to do in life. I think that's so important. How will this program benefit both the parent and the child?
Well, with the parent, I'm going to teach you those techniques and strategies, and I will be available for questions and answers. Also, it's easy to apply behavior management techniques to learning a skill such as math. And those are things that I want to be able to share with you. So we'll have a monthly, or not a monthly, excuse me, a weekly meeting where I'm sharing these techniques and methods, and you'll have a question and answers period. Then for the kids, we've got Toastmasters for those children who want to share verbally, who love talking. Well, you might as well give them an opportunity to talk and let them share speeches with the family and friends. And I think Guy knows all about that because he's a very big advocate for Toastmasters. And then you've got second language. If they have affinity to learning a second language, actually, a second language does activate another part of the brain. So it's supposed to be excellent for you. An instrument. So we have that available. And that also activates another part of the brain. You've got the different activities. Let's say you've got a business, a person who gravitates more to running a business, an entrepreneur. Well, guess what? We've got strategies in order to help them build the skills to be an entrepreneur. They can open up their own pizza shop or candy shop, and we will give them directions on how to do that. But we make it fun, and we want them to get involved in skills. So through that, they're also going to be working on math and writing. And I have the mystery monster taking them through a rainbow treasure hunt to work with reading and more math and writing. Yes, we have a variety, a cachet of activities that the child can pick and choose in addition to the reading program. So this is to support the parent and the child and to give them the skills they need to move forward for a happy, joyful life.
You're really setting them on the course to being more successful because of the mindset that you're developing and getting them to tap into their affinity. And I think that is incredibly insightful to do that with children. And again, they're going to choose their path. They're going to show you what they are most interested in. And I feel that the encouragement, the fact that you're really encouraging them to go out and try things. Children are so open to exploration when they're at that age, the ages that you're describing. And I feel that offering them these opportunities has got to be very helpful in stimulating their wanting to learn and wanting to put their hands on things and get involved and try things. Yes, for young children, it seems like you're definitely creating an environment that's inspirational and encouraging for them.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, and we want to open up those doors so that they know that there's a lot of opportunity in life, and that they have those gifts that they're meant to share with others. I think that's so important, and I noticed that as a teacher and as a parent, that when you open that door, you'll see leaps and jumps in the kids. Amazing. Something you've never seen before. Suddenly, it's like they're blooming. And that's what I want to see.
What does this program cost? What's the value?
Well, the normal cost is $5.97, or I think that's $115 a month. But for a limited time, we're doing a pilot on it, and it's going to be 40% off. So it's $297 for 6 months rather than the $597 for 6 months. And it'll be $70 a month if you choose to go that route. But it's a phenomenal deal for what you're going to be getting. And we're going to find ways to open up those doors for your children. And we want them to have fun and enjoy learning and growing. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Enjoying life. And if we could go back and live through our children again to just grab all that joy, then we'll do it, won't we? But it's about them learning about themselves and growing and expanding and becoming who they're supposed to be. You know, for them to live that purpose in life.
What is your vision for the program in the future?
Well, for the future, we are going to be expanding into to maybe exploring and teaching the children about different things, like maybe learning to read and write in French, because we have Caroline there to help us learn French. We have, I would love to take you on a tour through an actual English castle. Fun. And we'll also hopefully we'll get a German person to start helping us develop the program in German for you. We'll also be expanding the Mystery Monster program, and there's so much we want to do, so much to do. And then I'd also like to eventually go up to age 12. So to expand the age group. But right now we're going to start with 4 to 9 and get that fully developed, and then begin to expand the age group.
Well, that's wonderful, the expansion and touching more children. I know that this is something that is important to you, making the world a better place by sharing the principles that you've talked about during our interview today. How can people get in contact with you if they want more information about this program to help them release their children's inner genie?
Well, the contact information is www.releaseyourinnergenius. It's GENIUS, genius.club, because that's what we are, as a club. And then you can contact me at info@releaseyourinnergenius.club.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to stop by today, Rebecca, to talk about helping our children release their inner geniuses. And the concepts that you shared, I think, are so important and helpful in these times and all times. We as parents, as you mentioned before, all we want is for our kids to be more successful. And if there are outside influences or programs that can help us to help them to have better lives, I don't think there's a parent on the planet who wouldn't want that for their children. And again, I would encourage all of you out there who want the best for your kids, and I know that we all want that, to reach out to Rebecca to learn these concepts of how they can tap into the inner genius of their children. We all have an inner genius, and I feel that it is critical that we look for that in our children, because it's going to set them on the right path to tap into their inner genius throughout their lives. Working with them when they're very young, as Rebecca has described in this interview, is you're really putting your kid on the right path to success overall. And yeah, excellent work today, Rebecca, sharing these concepts with us.
Oh, well, thank you, Guy. I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to touching base with all the parents and kids.
And thank all of you who tune in to this broadcast. And please stay tuned for more broadcasts here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Have a wonderful day.